Well, a little more tidbits from Zack Snyder. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut. Yeah. Anyway, Zack Snyder, Cider? Snack Cider reveals alternate plans for Wonder Woman's first interaction with man. Yeah, remember, Zack Snyder is the one who cast Gal Gadot in the role and set up all this, and this was the first time we saw the image was in Batman vs. Superman, blah, 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 blah. So they had all these plans. So the idea of when she first meets mankind. So, of course, in the story, she left Themyscira, Paradise Island, and helped Steve Trevor in World War I. Now, a lot of this at the time, and I still think there's something to this, was that they would rather she not go into World War II, which is what she originally did in the story, because they just had Captain America and all that World War II stuff. And so they went with World War I. And it's interesting because a lot of interest in World War I was cropping up here and there, most probably because of the 100-year anniversary that approached with, the years leading up to 2018, and the war ends in 1918, and so on and so forth. A magnificent series was done on YouTube for The Great War, which was the original title of the war. And you need to check that out. They started in 2014 at the beginning, because the war starts in 1914, and they tracked the events week by week, all the way into for 4 years. They did this, and it was really a great series, and they're still going for the aftermath thing, just to keep the channel going for the historical interest in the events that followed. And I imagine eventually they'll get to the terrible sequel that the world suffered in World War II. But anyway, but apparently they had other options. The idea, the main thing being that they wanted to show how old she was, despite not looking it, and because of her immortality and being a demigoddess and all that sort of stuff. So apparently, the Crimean War and America's Civil War were considered. So the quote is, "Before we inserted this into the film, I'd shot a placeholder. When we shot BVS, we hadn't really finished the concept for Wonder Woman yet. Steve Berkman, who'd shot the image of Wonder Woman from World War I, we had shot that previous with an image from the Crimean War. That'd be interesting to see what that looked like. But originally it had been the Crimean War because it was one of the early conflicts where photography was used, and I wanted to get the longest stretch possible. I think we originally talked about it being in the Civil War, as a possibility, lost in our early conversations where we were like, what would really show the distance? So they wanted to go as far back as possible. There was photography in both wars, but primarily paintings, as he describes here in the article, is the main reference or depiction of the war, considering the time span. So, the Crimean War, 1853 and 56. So, there's the same about time, and it would certainly emphasize just how old she is to get across to Batman. It's like, wait, what the hell is this about? When he sees the photograph. But World War I was fine because it's 100 years. So, and she, that's not 100. That doesn't look like, well, that's exactly at the time, but she still looks like that today. So it's like, wait, something's off here. Another good scene, huh? Wonder Woman. And so, the Civil War is more distinguished by its photographic record, making it acceptable choice. However, the Steve Trevor to be a pilot and truly drive home Ares' power and the horror of war, the war to end all wars, is much more suitable. Yeah, it was a much more, devastating war and all that stuff, for the world, not just, America. So, but the idea that Batman was looking at an early photographic image, not a painting, but a photograph, to prove that it's the same person and that the photograph was 100 years old to show that she hadn't aged, the notion was in the film before we made the Wonder Woman movie. That was a way to start with the Wonder Woman film as a concept, that she had this group of guys, a team of people, that she was going after Ares with. So yeah, it's kind of like when the Wonder Woman movie is a precursor of what was supposed to happen with Justice League, where this team is formed to go up against this god, and so it's kind of like the echo of things to come. So I guess in a way this is the original Justice League. And there were side notes about this guy was actually a demigod himself. It was kind of a secret, but you don't really see any displays of it in the film. And some of you were talking, he's Apache Chief from the Super Friends, all that. But anyway, yeah, Wonder Woman, by her actions and being there, brings together a team. A similar thing happens with Batman v Superman, where she brings together, again, by actions. It wasn't really her intention, but the scenario and what was needed to fight Doomsday, comes together for Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman to be the foundation of Justice League. So that's, kind of the thinking there about what that was all about. So, yeah, they beat Ares, and Steve died. That was the sacrifice, but he comes back. Oh, how does that happen? Well, we already know because of the plot leaks. But anyway, so we'll see how that happens. But of course, again, thanks to the crisis, we don't know if this will come out on time. It's been delayed, so August 14th is now the date. Will that be maintained? We don't know, and there's rumors about it being released online, possibly HBO Max, and that may happen. I don't know. It's more seeming likely for the Black Widow film, because that's supposed to come out earlier, but we just don't know where we'll be by August, and where the theaters can even open, due to the fact that they're suffering severe damage here, not being able to be open for business. So there you go. Little tidbit from Zack Snyder about Wonder Woman. And I think they went with the right choice. World War I was a much better choice to go with. It does all you need to do. And especially keeping the narrative with Steve Trevor being a pilot and all that. And that keeps in with the original Wonder Woman story. All right, thanks for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe, and check out that link description below. That'll take you to my many stores that have plenty of goodies for you. T-shirts, hats, mugs, stickers, posters, all that stuff. And, of course, you can head over to IndiePlanet.com and get a copy of my comic book, Night Night. It spoofs a certain Cape Crusader, and it's all kinds of fun, based on my audio plays of the same name that you can check out here on this channel. Or, of course, catch up on new chapters of that series within my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show. New episodes every Saturday over at RadioMisfits.com. Of course, it's available elsewhere where you can get your podcasts, iTunes, and the like. And, of course, you can also watch my videos over at BitChute if you so desire.